Welcome everyone to the first Small Business Winning Wednesday.
Yay.
My name is Laura Dryden. I'm the events director at the KC Chamber. I just have a few housekeeping items before we get started today. Your mics are muted as you entered the meeting, but we would still love to see your smiling faces, so please feel free to use the video feature, which is in the bottom left-hand corner. That's right, volume up and video on, please. Additionally, please, at any time during today's webinar, use the chat feature to submit your questions and comments. Christine is monitoring that, and we'll get to your questions as soon as possible. We have a fantastic presentation prepared for you today. I want to first introduce our co-pilot moderators, and then I will pass it over to them to get us started. Christine Murray started her leadership career at Fenaroli and Associates in 2019. She leads the Executive Ascent program, that is Kansas City's premier C-suite training platform. As an executive search partner, her industry interests are threefold: technology, rapidly evolving industries, and premier nonprofits. Prior to joining Fenaroli and Associates, Christine served as the Senior Director of Programs and Entrepreneurship for the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. During her tenure, she managed startup and emerging business initiatives, reinforcing the Chamber's Big Five to make Kansas City America's most entrepreneurial city, including innovation conferences, connecting entrepreneurs, innovators, and startups. She's a familiar name around the KC Chamber, as she was also responsible for the KC Chamber's Centurion program for emerging business professionals, Google Urban Mobility Initiative, the Military Affairs Committee, and various policy and transportation sector programs. Karen Fenaroli is founder and CEO of Fenaroli and Associates, a leading specialist in identifying and recruiting high-performing board members and senior-level executives. This is the sixth business she has founded in her career. She founded an investment called Minerva that targets Kansas City's startup community, especially diverse founders. Fenaroli co-created the Pure Pitch Rally, which is Kansas City's Shark Tank-style funding source. Among a number of awards, she is also a recipient of Women Who Mean Business. Today, these co-pilots of talent start their series called Winning Wednesday. This series is uniquely focused on winning tips for the small business community during recovery and evolution. Let's get started.
Christine, did you have any opening comments before I introduce Charlotte? Because we're co-pilots here, so let's be attached together. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I don't have a ton of opening comments. I just, I'm excited to see everyone on the call today, and I think this is a great opportunity for everyone to learn and to share. As we go through, you'll see the presentation on the screen. So as we're going through certain areas, topical areas, if you have a question, just throw it into the chat box. And then, when we finish that section, we will call on you to ask a question. So you'll unmute yourself, or we'll unmute you to ask your question, and we'll go from there. But feel free to make any comments or questions, throw them in the chat box. We'd love to monitor that.
All right. Well, thanks, Christine. Thanks, Laura. Thank you to the Chamber. And I'd ask you to roll up the first question, which is, why Small Business Winning Wednesdays? So there are three reasons why we feel strongly that winning is important to collectively share. First, in 2008, when Kansas City was coming out of the recession, I believe that many thought we could come out faster. So we're going to do this together this time, and as a civic-minded firm, we want to be part of that solution. We want to be a force multiplier, so straight up, we are taking this really seriously. Winning Wednesdays to us is a series of sharing a particular facet of how to win together. And it is all about winning as a city. So why are we doing this? It's because we're doing this to help others. And anyone on the chat box, any Q&A, just keep it going, because I know that people monitor that, and we really want to feel that it is a community cheering each other on. I know this is going to be the best hour of our day, maybe hour of our week. So let me get started by introducing someone I admire greatly. She is the lead host of this Winning Wednesday series. When we thought about winning, my first dilemma was, how can we as sales executives and business development executives approach the marketplace when we can't find the marketplace and we're not able to touch the marketplace? And I just said, okay, Charlotte Barksdale has got the answer, because it's now been 3 to 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and we asked Charlotte to participate because I knew that she's very curious and very innovative. Charlotte, at least for the last decade plus, has been at LaserCycle as the president. This is a privately held company located in Lenexa, and it has a Fortune 100 kind of partner, Hewlett-Packard, their premier technology partner. She offers IT solutions in print, copy, and document management. Coincidentally and strategically, Charlotte is very civically engaged in a group called the Association of Corporate Growth, or ACG. I've seen her there for over a decade, and she is always coming out with ideas of how businesses can grow through leveraged transactions. Sometimes it's a banker crowd, a lot of times it's just a M&A crowd, and Charlotte is the president of the ACG this year. She's also a fellow meanie with me, Women Who Mean Business, this year, so she's a sister, and I'm excited to share this with her today. She's been a Centurion, she's been involved in the Women's Employment Network, been a fixture and an asset for the Central Exchange. She's also on Park University's Advisory Council. Her industry focus has been diverse in her background. She was in retail, in furniture, in the furniture industry, retail, did a stint at Scott Rice Office Works, as well as Christie's of London, and a part owner of a company called Ace Furniture in Kansas City. She's a daughter of 2, and with that, Charlotte, what have I missed out? Let's jump.
My goodness.
Questions or fill in the bio about the company so we know where you're coming from today.
Absolutely, Karen, and thank you so much. What a great introduction, and thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you being on the call today. I will certainly try to answer your questions, but I'm sure I'll be learning from you as well. So I just wanted to, yes, absolutely. I've been with LaserCycle now for 14 years, and I love the Winning Wednesday name because in sales, we all want to win, right? And this is certainly unprecedented times. So today we're going to talk about sales management, and I just want to set the stage to say I truly enjoy developing the strategy, setting the direction, communicating and implementing that direction, measuring and rewarding the progress of my sales team to ensure those sales goals and key performance indicators are met. But also I love rolling up my sleeves and hands-on mentoring and coaching and hopefully empowering my sales team to be successful. And I'm truly blessed to work in an environment that believes in the culture of servant leadership. So that's very exciting to me. Just quickly, we service customers with copier equipment leasing, managed print and transactional printer supplies, and we service about 40 different states. Our size is, we're under 50 people, so, but we do have a very diversified client base. My sales team includes national and local account managers and inside customer service that do make some outbound calls. You know, as Karen said, consistent with my 3-year strategy, our implementation has taken us to a 180-degree different from a transactional product-based business to a much more contractual solutions-based. And we've pivoted that through HP as a premier partner to provide solutions around copiers and printers. So there's been a lot of change in our industry. We're accustomed to it because we're a very high-touch, high-service business. And we are deemed right now as an essential business because we do keep businesses up and running because of our suite of technology services. And currently, just so you know, we've been funded through the PPP, the Payment Protection Program, and we're fortunate enough to have maintained all our full-time employees. There may be some of you out there that's not the case. I completely understand. it is definitely a different world out there. So that just gives you a quick background on us.
Up the first question, which is, what has changed as it relates to finding your customer, Charlotte? What has changed? And what do you think will change? Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just set the stage for a second, Karen. You know, as we all know, the world's tumultuous. There are many new repercussions out there. We don't know everything right now. It seems to be changing daily as we're speaking. According to the New York Times, you know, you think back in February, there was a thriving economy, and we've now gone to unemployment of potentially 13% and above. So that's the highest since the Great Depression. So kind of putting that in perspective there, you know, we're also seeing the government grappling on what this looks like, how we're going to adapt to the new norm, you know, how we're going to ramp back up again. We're starting to think that too, you know, how many stages and how do we going to be tested? For me, the new norm personally was, I'll tell you, yesterday I walked into Walmart, I had my mask on, and the odd man out was the one person who didn't have a mask. I just think back over 2 months ago, what that would have been like. And going into business, so we talk a lot to our customers right now, if we can. And to me, they've fallen into 3 buckets. The first of our customers they're very busy, they're thriving, they've either found a different way to go to market, or they're just a very essential business. And they're needing our services now or even more. So they're actually needing increased customer service. The second is where they're kind of a little hunkered down, and that would be LaserCycle right now. We're working from home. Not all of us have, so this is a new norm. Sales are a little down. We're still busy, but we're having to find new ways to go to business. And that's some of the things we're going to be talking about. So if you, again, putting it in perspective, the Wall Street Journal said that 5.8% of people worked sometimes at home back last year. Think about how that's skyrocketed right now and what it means to people. And then the third area are people, and I really feel for them, are the people who maybe are still waiting for their funding. You know, they're trying to survive, they haven't survived. And we do have a lot of customers like that too. They're worried. If you're out there, I really feel for you. You know, maybe you've received your P3 funding, you're waiting for that second round. And one thing we've really realized, you do not want a sales call for something that you don't want. Mm-hmm. So to get to that, you know, what do you do? And I'll give you a couple of tips that what we're doing. Okay. So we realized we had to create a new norm, right? So what is the new value proposition? And everybody has to think about that in their own terms. Do you really know now versus February who your customers are based on what value you can deliver? Because that value has changed, let me tell you. So customers in February will look vastly different from what your customers are going to be like in June. So you need to find that something in value. So in my opinion, what we did was ask ourselves, you know, what are the characteristics of your new customers? You know, in sales, we're always told it's a numbers game. You know, keep going, just be a machine. At some point, somebody's going to want something. I don't really think that's always completely true, because right now, this timing is more about looking at the future and getting your future sales ready. So I'm right now putting more value on research to identify those ideal prospects. And that takes time. So instead of throwing out that sort of catch-all sales statement, you know, this is what we can do, what we're doing is trying to figure out for the future what our customers look like, you know, what's their average revenue. For us, you know, how many employees or how many copiers do they have? What geographic area we're going to go to, that kind of thing. And then think about them in the virtual world. So it's going to be a lot different than just going to a meeting and handing out a business card now. That's just not going to cut it. It's all going to be about virtual. It's going to be about making connections on LinkedIn. finding things in common with them and starting to create a relationship, not selling them, but giving them something of value, thinking of something that they might be interested in. And then, down the road, I can see occasionally asking them if there's a project that we can work on. It's a very, very different way of selling. Again, it's keeping the customer in mind first. What do they want versus what can I sell them? And what value am I trying to create? What problems am I trying to solve? So, give you an example for what LaserCycle is doing. We're serving our customers with the same products and services, but we're serving it in a different way. So for us, we're thinking about, instead of the office, we're thinking about, people are still working, but they're working from home. What do they need from home? So we're delivering our printer ink and toner cartridges and equipment to their home office. People aren't thinking of that. Maybe they need that. We're drop shipping a lot more to individuals. People are purchasing digitally much more. They're all familiar with Amazon. We're not doing those bulk deliveries as much. And then we're also setting the tone for advising on data, device, and document security, because we realize that's something that people are really interested in right now. There's talking more about solutions around that document management. But we weren't doing that before. So it's a whole new level. Security is a very large concern today, and it's obviously had a lot more focus. So, and what we're finding is it's no longer just the IT. It's now a C-level issue, a problem, and even companies are now putting new people into CTO positions. So it's a CTO level that we're now looking at. So again, it's finding that customer that you're looking for, ready for when the market starts going up back again. So that's my challenge to you, is potentially, is there a new product or service you can provide? And, would you have never thought about this in February, but everything has drastically changed. So it's getting to know those customers.
So I'll ask the first question as we close this topic and go to the next topic, because that's kind of what we want to do. If you have a question, raise your hand or put it in the Q&A box. I'll go with this topic. You talked about more research. Have you diverted sales talent to back up, to do research and kind of cross-training people, or what are you doing with that?
Yeah, we are. We are doing that because our salespeople actually have more time on their hands. And the reason for that is because some customers really don't have the time to talk to us. Some do, some don't. And I'll get into that a little more. But what we're looking at is, if your sales are down, get ready for the next wave. Position yourself, pivot yourself to where you need to be tomorrow. And tomorrow may be in 2 weeks. It might be in 3 or 4 weeks, when we're starting to go back to work and the market starts to come on board again. So yes, we're doing a lot more research right now.
So that leads us into a super next topic, which is, salespeople are everything and inspiration is everything. The second and third topic we can even talk about together. So what are you doing to inspire your sales team? And sometimes technology is inspiring, that new CRM system. So talk a little bit about that, Charlotte, maybe 2 to 3 minutes about that. Go ahead.
Sure. So everybody's online today, right? Everybody's consuming information like never before, because we've got the time, we're all online, we're all Googling, we're all looking at new information. So if your sales are down, and I'm being honest, our sales are down, we're preparing for the future. So it's a great time for your salespeople to make connections. So it's right now, it's what you can do for people and sharing relevant information. So we haven't yet done this, but a tip that I've heard is, why not record a video on Facebook Live, copy it to your LinkedIn, set it up on your own YouTube channel. It doesn't have to be perfect, because you don't have to be perfect on the internet. You can reuse it. It's a great opportunity. Make the content not about you personally, but the changing face of the market, or what your insights you can share. think about that. So that's something that we're looking at to do potentially next week. It's also a time of individual connection and empathy. I'm going to use that word a lot because right now it's all about genuinely caring about your customer. So when you check in, and I'm telling my salespeople this, have a conversation. It's not about selling. It's about how you're doing. How can we help? What is life like for you now? What's challenging to you? It's a little bit like doing a survey, but what you're doing is you're having that deeper relationship because you're creating your brand and you want to be top of mind later on. And I'll tell you, yesterday I had a conversation with a client and we spent half an hour talking about the benefits of barbecue grilling. And I'd have never have done that if I was in person with them. We'd have been much more professional. So, you know, it's being prepared. Now, I will tell you that, as I said before, some people are very preoccupied. They'll only talk if they want something now. And I completely get that. But there are also some people that are not as busy and they're really ready to talk. I'll give you a great example for us. We talk a lot in the IT world. IT people are constantly busy. Right now, they're not as busy. And we're able to find out, for example, when their copier leases are up. They're willing to give us a little more time. So that's exciting. But I will just flip it for a moment, if you don't mind, Karen, because I do believe right now that your sales team don't want sales managers that are setting up programs for remote reps to do face-to-face meetings all the time, constantly, hour by hour, just to fill up their time. Then they don't want that. And if you don't trust them virtually, you know, if you trusted them in the office, I was going to say, and you're not trusting them virtually, that doesn't work for me. Or maybe you've got the wrong sales reps. Micromanaging right at this moment, in my opinion, doesn't count. And here's the huge truth to it. You know, potentially reps are very discouraged right now because we all want to win. And maybe we're not winning right now, right? Maybe they don't want to prospect. Maybe they're having a discouraging moment. So maybe they're asking, you know, if nobody's buying, what's the point? So this is what we're doing is, hey, we understand, we get it, but this is the great time to hone your skills, right? So the first task is to look at your value proposition, take your time to understand your customer, and do some deep research in LinkedIn, all of those digital tools that you've got to find it, to make sure that you're sharpening the saw. I just put this in here, but I love Abraham Lincoln's talk. He says, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe, right? That's exactly what we're doing right now. That deep dive will help you understand the customer and the company, and it's going to reap great benefits. And it's also a great time to personalize your conversations with your clients. Let's talk about a couple of tools, Karen, too. This is important. If you don't have a CRM, get one. It's very important. A customer relationship management tool is a key strategic tool to manage an effective sales organization. It helps you see the gaps, and it helps you and the wins to help you coach your team, helps you look at the pipeline, and it helps you to know when to reward your team as well, right? It also keeps them organized and it provides that dashboard for their pipeline. So number one, absolutely the CRM. Number two, we use Zoom now. You can use WebEx, GoToMeeting. We weren't all very comfortable with it and it's taken a little time, but make sure that you take the time to get really comfortable right now. So little things like the right lighting, the right microphone, make sure they can see you well enough. I did have a rep that has his remote office in his bedroom and he's got one of those standing desks. And as the desk came down, we saw his bed. Yeah, not probably a good one. Funnily enough, in Zoom, I found that the number one problem is people talking at the same time. And I told my team, this is a great time to learn how to listen, because it can be that silence on Zoom can be a little bit disorientating, but actually asking a question and waiting for the silence is great training, because as salespeople, we all want to talk, right? So practice it is a great one.
And that kind of leads into the next topic. Oh, I like this. Couldn't agree more. I love it. Inspiring teams. Good. Katie, thanks for that note. Training, and even Zoom training, and training your customer to be a good customer. So I'll go with an example. This is, we're a headhunting firm, and we do a lot of social distance consulting all over the United States. Christine and I have probably spent at minimum 10% of our time training our clients how to be good virtual clients. And we'll go and say, all right, go to the bottom of the Zoom bar, see where the stop video is. Do you see the little up? So getting into this next topic of training and the future of training, we see right now great things are happening where if everyone just talks a little slower on Zoom, they get on their Teams call, they talk a little slower, and you can kind of be a little informationally goofy, but clients are responding to this. We had a question of the day at the end of one of our sales appointments and it wasn't a closed sale yet, and it was with a company in Colorado. And I asked him, hey, we're just closing the meeting today. What kind of fun things what do you have planned on your calendar this weekend that you've never done before? And he kind of stopped for a minute, and I said, yeah, let's just say a personal goodbye. So part of this is teaching your clients and your customers how to be people a little bit. I know this is being recorded, so hopefully that customer won't hear me. But Charlotte, tell me a little bit about this future of training, whether or not it's training your peers, training your clients. How do you see things training, even in an experiential way, for the future?
Oh, yeah, I love this topic, Karen, because we think of traditional training today as the classroom setting, a set duration of time, a specific group to come together on a specific topic. And, maybe even having to take into account time zones. This has all changed. The 8 to 5 is no longer relevant. And our customers are sometimes demanding, they want things done at different times now. So training for me has changed, and it's shifted to a time-shifted format. Training might now be 5 minutes, right? It might be micro-sized snippet. Here's what it is. Here's the why, here's the application, here's the reinforcement. It might be even something that you send to your rep as he's sitting outside the client office, telling him, don't forget to say this, don't forget the client's got this. And a quick training where we all do a lot of multitasking, and millennials are much better than I am, but it's no longer 1 hour blocks. It's no longer sitting with a teacher. It may add up to the same time, but it's the same way our clients want interaction. It's engineered and tailored to the needs of the individual and where they're based upon their skill set. And training will be done on demand on all kinds of platforms in the future. I see that at any time with any menu of choices. So the way I look at it for the future, Karen, is I could see in the future walking down an aisle of Macy's, and the advertisements on either side are changing because they know what type of fragrance or what type of cologne I'm wearing, right? It's going to be the same for the sales teams. The next generation, they're already experienced on training on demand in their their school classrooms. So as the salesperson walks down their own virtual corridor, the training is going to be customized to their knowledge. It's going to be skill shifted training depending on where they are in the training. So it's just like watching TV programs. It's going to be convenient for them. It's going to be a time-shifted training for them. Then also, I believe that it's going to be much less, not nearly as many in-person national sales conventions. It's going to be virtual. We're going to be a lot more comfortable with it. It's going to save companies a lot more money. We're not going to have to pay for the airfare and the meals and the whole thing. I think that's where it's going to go to. And we're very fortunate with HP. They're a technology company. So they do everything virtual as well. They provide the training, they provide the exams online to pass, and then they provide the rewards too. Let's not forget that when you've passed an exam, and they do that through a Visa gift card. So, you know, I see that as an extra thing. You know, millennials, they won't miss a beat on this.
Charlotte, can I interrupt your training? Mike, if you want to take yourself off mute, I'd love to have you ask that question yourself. You have a good question about marketing, and I want to make sure you get heard. Unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey guys, this is Mike Graysick. I'm from Net Standard. We're a IT managed services company here in Kansas City. And a question that I had was how you guys may have changed your marketing approach now, if you're hitting different venues, I should say platforms, maybe scaling back, adding more. Just if you could talk about that, that would be great.
Scaling back in what way, Mike?
Well, are you doing more marketing now? Are you scaling back on your marketing? Are you hitting different platforms, like maybe using LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever you're doing?
Yeah, I would say we're not scaling back, and we're not doing more. We're doing it differently. We're being a lot more intentional about how we're doing it, Mike. So yes, we do. Funnily enough, we use Hunter.io. It's a great way to find new customers. We're doing that. We are doing it through LinkedIn. We love LinkedIn. We haven't yet done it through Facebook, but as I say, I love that idea of doing the video on the Facebook, moving that to LinkedIn, and it's again all about the experience for the customer. So we're not scaling back. We're doing the same thing, but we're changing up the message more. We are not doing the old phone call, email, as much. Now I'm not saying that we're not, but we're trying different venues from the virtual platform more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, and that's what I was wanting to hear. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So and millennials have basically figured this all out. They're already socially conscious. They're wired to do the right thing. It's much easier for them. Here's the rub though, Mike, and I think this is interesting, is we as sales leaders have to be ready when we say, okay, it's time to go back to work here, and here's your office for your sales reps, inbound sales reps and outbound sales reps internally. They're going to say, well, why? I'm happy being at home, and I'm much more productive that way. So we have to think about that, as we scale back up again, of how we're going to handle that. Right. I can personally see that we're going to be much more flexible than we used to be. On the other side, I, funnily enough, have a sales rep who I loves working from home, and I was floored yesterday. She told me, you know what? I kind of miss the camaraderie. So I think there's going to be both sides to it. And that's something where you have to listen individually to each person. Again, it's looking at their skill sets, exhibiting that empathy, and then creating the value versus just racking up the dollar commission. It's our younger people are much more interested in social causes. And I think that the new way of going to sales actually works for them better than it does for our generation.
So Charlotte, I want to be mindful on time at 2:40. We've got some good engagement on Q&A. The next two topics are trends on the horizon with sales, sales in a new era. And by the way, if anyone hasn't seen the article, I'll put this in the box, the Q&A box. McKinsey has an unbelievably great article. It came out 2 days ago saying the future is not what it used to be. Thoughts on the shape of the next normal, and distance selling, more scrutiny on business relationships, changing consumer behavior. So Mike, you inspired me to make sure this gets put. See that URL as well. Charlotte, you want to hop to trends, and then let's skip very quickly to this DNA traits and how you think things are changing. I want to make sure people get time to interrupt you for questions. So please,
absolutely.
Q&A. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one trend that I see is that we're going to be able to be recruiting across the country and maybe even internationally. That's something that we're going to be a lot more easy and comfortable with. And maybe that's a good thing, because when you think about it, if you have your sales teams across the country, that means that it's a more dispersed staff. There's no single point of failure, and that might be something that people are going to be looking at more, especially after the COVID-19. I also think that office space may shrink. People are realizing that they don't need as much commercial real estate space. I'm sorry for our friends out there. But that also means for LaserCycle, less printer hardware. And that's why we have to adapt and focus around those solutions around hardware to connect printing to customer information easier. So, that adapting is so important right now. And it's just changing your strategic plans. So those are some of those future plans. I also think that millennials are going to find this a lot easier than our generation. We are going to be more digitally connected. We're going to be more mobile, more agile. And, the old technology is not going to work for us anymore. We can't run on an old office, an old iPhone 6 anymore. A lot of our people are now going to need that laptop, the tablet, and the phone perhaps as well. There are going to be trade-offs, I think, Karen, though. I think that some people do find it harder to shut the office door at the end of the day and be home, right? A lot of us have got families, children, dogs, and it's a little bit harder. But I think the ongoing conversation to be addressed in the future is how to balance that. And I think the necessity of that pop-up water cooler conversation, that in-person, being able to just, run across the corridor to somebody and say, what do you think? Versus being at home with all that freedom, flexibility, and let me say, no commute. People love that.
So Charlotte, I'm going to interrupt you and ask you about a Zoom cocktail hour with any of your sales people in the field. Have you done that? And do you think something like that will just be, hey, let's all go home at 4:30 and just have a Zoom cocktail party, because you can do it in your sweatpants and with your own wine? What's your feeling on something like that?
Yeah, we've absolutely done that. It's been great. And again, it builds morale too, because this is a time, again, I go back to that word empathy. It's listening to your sales team. It's really understanding them. And I've got a couple of other ideas as well for sales leaders as well. We've talked about focusing on the optimal target, but also tweaking your short-term KPIs as well. So for us, I looked at our dashboard and I said, what are we trying to do very, very short term, and what should we be celebrating and rewarding our sales team to help keep with that morale? One of them for me was number of productive calls with our existing customers, right? It just calls and it was productive. Okay, you get a point. The other was net new high value opportunities. So really focusing in on those first call, those first brand new opportunities that might bear fruit later on. We may not be closing a lot right now, but we can focus in on the future. So that was celebrating those is very important. And then I eliminated some low value reporting requirements, such as, reporting on current win rate. Well, that's kind of gone out the door a bit here right now. So yeah, it's all about being visible and present and communicative with my staff right now and keeping that morale high.
Ronald Link had a question. I'm going to unmute him.
Yes, I just had a question as far as, right now with so many needs out there, we're getting a lot of requests for non-traditional products and non-traditional connections. I get calls or offers coming out of China for face masks, for instance, which is not part of our business, but we have customers that need it too as well. Mm-hmm. So, we can provide a conduit for that. So it opens up a lot of networking opportunities with customers and people that you traditionally don't talk to for products that you don't traditionally sell. And that is a good opportunity for relationship building. So I'm wondering if there is more time on the salesperson's agenda? Are they using that time to expand their networks and develop relationships with people that, you know, may have open time too as well, and try to serve a better good? I mean, I think there's a lot of people, even with UMKC, and I do a little work with them, and collaboratively they're looking to see how they can make Kansas City a better practice by helping each other. So maybe it goes beyond just selling products and motivating the sales force, but really making more meaningful connections. So are people seeing that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ronald. And I wish, you know, I think so too. You know, I think if we have something to sell, that something's needed right now and we can change our product line, we would. I don't know if everybody has that, but you're absolutely on the right track here, because it's all about the common good right now, right? People are not wanting to hear about speeds and feeds of a copier, for goodness sake. So if we can find something that really benefits the community as such, that's huge. And you're absolutely right. We can, that means you can reach out to your customers and reach out to new people as well, and say, hey, is this something that is of interest to you? So I agree with you completely.
We at our firm, Christine and I, have had a conversation about just opening up our calendars. And, you know, time is money, right, Ron? You and I have known each other for a long time. And when you think about so many people out of work, and it could be the wife or husband of someone that is a client of yours, I've just said, hey, 20% of my calendar is free now. Anybody that wants to get on it, just, you know, send me a note. Because in Kansas City, if that's all we, you know, it isn't just about product. It's about showing up for each other, whether or not it's at a charity event or whether or not it's to answer a startup question that someone wants to, you know, I think of Sherry at Tohi Beverages. And Ron, I've been wanting to introduce you to Sherry for a long time, Sherry Ford. And she's a startup that's pretty well funded, but I know she has some sales questions, and you're inspiring me to connect you with her. So I hope you will accept that mentoring call from her. She's a young entrepreneur.
That's wonderful, Karen. And this is what it's all about, and especially in this time frame when, you know, maybe we do have a little more time, is that those connections and going back to how are you doing and just sharing with each other. So important.
So closing this at 2:49, Charlotte, you get to pick the last two topics just because I want to have open Q&A. So closing new contracts, who is actually writing new client contracts now? Come on, no faking, just be truthful. And then what are some best practices? So you want to go on those last two topics, Charlotte?
Sure. We have closed some contracts, but they have been in the works. And we've also have had customers say, we're going to wait till this is over. So they're just in the pipeline. They're just waiting there. So we will be closing soon. Closing new contracts. We're using DocuSign right now because we're not seeing people physically, and that has really helped as well. So. And then identifying and learning from best practices. Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's, in my mind, it's creating a safe space for your sales team to be honest. And that can be hard because we're all hard charging, but I don't know if any of you out there have had a salesperson call you and say, hey, you know what, I'm struggling. What do I do, right? And it's empathy, it's not sympathy, it's empathy. It's teaching, coaching, mentoring, and making sure that that person feels valued and ready for the next sale. And to me, that's just a very important thing. I think empathy towards everybody in Kansas City as well, as we're going through this today too. You know, it's huge. All of us have a story to tell and will have a story to tell as we're going through this. So I'm extremely, you know, respectful of my clients, and I'm very respectful of the contacts that we're talking to right now, because each one of them is individual, and that's how I think it's changed as well. There isn't a one message that fits all anymore. It's individualized. And that's why, in my opinion, this research that we're doing right now, as well as everything else, is going to pay off in the long run. And I hope it will for you too.
So I'm looking at the Q&A box, and Christine, you may have some insight into that also. I just want to share this, that a very nice private question to me is, will you take a job seeker phone call? Absolutely. And if it's a husband or wife and it's somebody that's super close, I want to see every single person in Kansas City get back to 3% unemployment. That's it. And Charlotte, anything else that you think we haven't covered? Or Christine, do you have a question for Charlotte? Just putting you on the co-pilot spot there.
I think we've covered most of it, but thank you for doing this, Charlotte. And if anyone has any other final questions, feel free to throw them in the chat.
What's the new skill you're going to acquire in the next month, Charlotte, as the leader of this organization and as the sales hero? What are you committed to learning that will make you a better executive and hero to your company?
Well, I think that the first thing is learning to adapt, right? And not being afraid to change your strategy.
Yep.
As a leader, you mustn't be afraid of that. I think reaching out to other people and learning and listening to other people too is very important. Being humble and but also having the determination to change. I think also really enjoying and celebrating when your sales team have successes, because the motivation is just very important. And right now, it's a tough market, but it's not going to be. And ensuring that you've got your right salespeople on the team, ensuring that you're coaching, you're mentoring them, you're helping them, you're providing the new tools, the new virtual tools, so they're comfortable. So they're comfortable maybe doing a YouTube presentation. Maybe they've not done that before. That's pretty exciting. So my job is to introduce these new tools, these new ideas to them and help them to succeed. It's all about helping my team succeed.
All right. Well, I'm winning because I just learned everything from you, Charlotte. Thank you so much for putting a smile on our face. I love the questions, and everyone knows how to reach all of us. So go KC. Let's win more. Happy Winning Wednesday, everybody. Signing off.
Thank you.